gosh, Nvidia blew up today because of some 12-year-old sitting in a garage in China who built a competitor against OpenAI. Well, not really, but something like that. Welcome to the Best of US Investors 2 Regular Guys show, where we just watched a good old fashioned behind the barn beating on Nvidia. Why did this happen? What's to come? Have we been sold a bunch of junk? What's happening with Nvidia and what's it going to do to the rest of the market going forward? That's what we're going to get into today. And we're going to talk about a little bit about DeepScape and what we know about it, which isn't all that much because they're really secretive about what they created. So this is Mark over here and I'm Trent. So let's get rolling.
Hey, what a difference a weekend makes.
What's that?
Yeah, what a difference a weekend makes.
Yeah.
So I tell you, a lot of people woke up this morning surprised. I know you sent me a text probably about 11:30 last night saying it's going to be a bloodbath. And I got up and I looked at the futures and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I really didn't look any more into it. At that point, I thought, because I think at that time the NASDAQ was down 200 and some points or 300, I'm like, okay, something's going on. But it was so weird because I heard about DeepSeek yesterday afternoon, so I went and looked at it. Okay, and I could have got in and everything. I didn't because I don't like to put Chinese applications that I don't know anything about on any of my systems, so I didn't. But I did a lot of research on it um, uh, this morning because when I got up this morning, I looked at the markets again. Like, what the heck happened? And I can tell you exactly what happened. First thing I thought is who the hell is DeepSeek? And number two is this the black swan for AI? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
and let's just go over, a little bit about what I know about DeepSeek and what happened today, and then we'll mash it around and see what we think. But DeepSeek
Sure.
is a 1-year-old startup. Okay, and I didn't know any of this till today. It revealed a stunning capability. It presented a chat GTP like AI model called R1, which has all the familiar abilities operating at a fraction of the cost of OpenAI's, Google's, or Meta's popular AI models. The company said it had spent just 5.6 million training its newest AI model, compared with the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars U.S. companies spend on on their AI technologies. The Wall Street Journal first reported about this today. Meta last week said it would spend, oh God, I can't believe how many million, 50 million, I believe.
Billion.
Billion. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Because I don't follow AI that much because it reminds me too much of the .com I was telling today. But oh yeah, some medicine would spend up this year 65 billion this year on AI development. Remember, DeepSeek, whether you believe them or not, said they did it for 5.6 million. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, last year said the AI industry would need trillions of dollars in investment to support the development of in-demand chips needed to power the electricity-hungry data centers that run the sector's complex models. Mark Andreessen, one of the world's leading tech investors, called DeepSeek one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs I've ever seen in a post on X. So the stunning achievement from a relatively unknown AI startup becomes even more shocking when considering that the United States for years has worked to restrict the supply of high-powered AI chips to China, citing national security concerns. This means that DeepSeek was able to achieve its low-cost model on underpowered AI chips, if you believe that they don't have that many chips. Now, who knows? Tests last month on its V3 large language model outperformed those of the OpenAI and Meta with a smaller development budget and plans to charge users a lot less. In a matter of days, DeepSeek proved to be so popular as to climb to the top of Apple's App Store, surpassing OpenAI's ChatGPT as the most downloaded app. In addition, China's ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, last week released an update to its flagship AI model, a direct challenge to OpenAI. While in the world of smartphones, Samsung last week unveiled the newest Galaxy 25 smartphones powered by Qualcomm's chips, and Google's AI model which it hopes could pump up sales and fend off both Apple and the Chinese rivals. The Magnificent Seven is a group comprising of Wall Street's biggest companies by market capitalizations, include Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Facebook parent Meta, now account for a third of global market value compared with around 2 years ago. Today, in pre-market, Nvidia dropped 6.9% out of the gate, while other chip makers such as AMD and Micron fell 3.7 and 6.4% respectively. Microsoft and Meta platforms were down 3.3 each. Google parent Alphabet fell 3.2 and Apple lost 1.4%. AI server makers Dell Technology and Supermicro Computer slid about 8% each. So as we've been talking about for a long time, Trent, market momentum has been riding on the coattails of these Mag 7 stocks for the past several years. And as Mag 7 goes, so goes the market. And we're seeing a little bit of that today. However, we'll go into it a little later. Not the whole market wasn't just destroyed. We have plenty of green on the screens if you really wanted to look for it. So for Wall Street analysts, the developments raise serious questions about the elevated valuations of AI-related stocks and Silicon Valley's business model of massive research. Bloomberg's Mark Cudmore said earlier that the emergence of DeepSeek is terrific news for global growth and productivity. However, he cautioned that the new free open source large language model undermines the massive premium paid for AI research and development by US megacap stocks, warning that this development can serve as a catalyst to end 15 years of US stock market exceptionalism. Jefferies analysts told clients concerns have immediately emerged that it could be a disruptor to the current AI business model, which relies on high-end chips and extensive computer power, hence energy. And JP Morgan Market Intel Desk told clients the DeepSeek story is forcing investors to question the market position of all mega cap tech names and the entire AI supply chain. So with 4 out of the so-called Magnificent Seven due to report earnings this week, the rise of DeepSeek as a possible alternative to Western-led AI has served as a dose of reality. If DeepSeek was indeed able to match the performance of OpenAI's best model on far less NVIDIA GPUs at a fraction of the cost, then the implications are that the demand for NVIDIA GPUs, which is driving the company's stock price up, may go down in the future. More broadly, the entire AI market may be overblown, as seen by today's performance of AI-related companies. Of course, it's never that simple. DeepSeek is an offshoot of a Chinese AI specialized hedge fund called High Flyer Quant. It could actually be running more GPUs and train its models on higher costs than is publicly known. It'll likely take a while until this market absorbs all this news and its significance to the AI space for now. So this direction is down. Okay, we saw that today. Although Nvidia or Meta and Apple came back and they didn't close down. What we see, in my opinion, and then tell me if I'm wrong, based on what I saw here, these companies have such high valuations marked into them. I think we looked at Nvidia Davis 56, 57 forward PE, that their earnings are based on the expectations of future earnings. So if they're spending all this money and not being able to monetize it, and all of a sudden somewhere in China, like you said, a couple of kids in a garage, and we're just making that up, come up within $6.5 million, and have the same product with less energy use and less need for a data center. That's catastrophic for all these guys spending billions out there. And the market's going to say, I'm not going to value you, Nvidia, at 56 times earnings, because why are you spending so much money? I can just go use this. What do you think?
I totally agree. And I honestly, yesterday I did a video on TikTok about DeepSeek versus ChatGPT in the morning, all before this whole futures opened up and all this, right? And my point of it was this technology has advanced so much and is advancing so fast that you and I, it's coming down to our level. Now, I don't have $6 million to throw at a project, but it's becoming accessible to anybody at a lower price. And I think the $175 billion that OpenAI has spent to develop OpenAI they're the first people through the door. They're always going to get killed, right? They're taking all the hits, they're spending all the money, they're making all the mistakes. The second tier of AI development, in my opinion, is what DeepSeek is we figured out how to do it cheaper. We figured out all the problems with it and we're able to do it faster. And I think you're going to see more and more of this happen. I honestly, you and I, before we started this, have we been sold a box of shit? And the answer is these guys are in business to make money, to make profits, to make their stock prices go up. So come to your conclusion based on that. You want to understand a man's motives, understand how he gets paid. These guys have been making billions in the last 24 to 36 months because of this headline AI movement. Now, does that mean they're not really actually doing something great? No, it doesn't. But their price valuations, I think, represent I've been sold a bag of crap, basically.
I think you're right, and we have, if you don't have a, if you're not a member, join up our platinum channel. We have a live channel on Discord, and we had a nice discussion today. A lot of people on there, and one of our members, he lives down in Florida, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I got wiped out today because he had a lot." He goes, "This is why I hate, that we can't trade 24/7 because you get this on the weekend, and then it gaps down, and you're already down 20%, 16% when the market opens."
Right.
I said, "Yeah, I know," and he started talking about DeepSeek, and I said, well, I was telling him what I knew about it, and that it was free and this and that. He says, well, yeah. He says, I was he said he was at someone's house over the weekend and they were telling him about it. And he said he'd been on it for like 2 weeks and he liked it so much he canceled all his subscriptions for all the other AI stuff he had because he liked it that much. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that's one guy. But if everybody is like that and they do that, what's that going to do to their, the cash flow of monetizing this program that people pay subscriptions to go, utilize. And think about today, it's the number one app on Apple. Okay. And you've tried to get in and some others have tried to get in. It just overwhelmed their systems, which isn't unusual for startups. Like I said, when I was in the discount broker world and everyone started to trade on internets, it would crash our systems every day as the trades came in, and we had to build up the infrastructure to make that happen. So that doesn't bother me as much. But what would bother me as an investor in these US companies is how am I going to monetize this after I'm spending billions in this company, if that's right, and if it's true, and I don't know if it is, spent $6.5 million. Okay.
Yeah.
How's that going to work?
Yeah. I think if you look at, well, you and I have talked about this probably for what, 3 quarters now, about the decline in revenue
Percentage.
of Nvidia. Rate
Yeah.
of change is continuously declining. Nobody's paid attention to that. But yet, if you look at Nvidia from a chart perspective, since October of last year to now, or until Friday, it's basically traded in a range and it stayed in that range. Nothing has caused that to go higher, and nothing, and all of a sudden you have an event like today that has created basically shaved 16% or 17% right off the top of Nvidia's stock price. When I see stocks get in that channel and their valuations are, I think you said forward PE was like 56 on this.
That's what someone told me today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it's high, it's in the 50s. You got to question, especially after it's been up 170% in 1 year. You have to question this. And it's always an event. Tops are structural, bottoms are caused by events. And today I think we saw an event, a black swan
Yeah.
event. And
Well, you need, yeah.
I'm looking at the aftermarket and it's up $3 or so, $2 to $3 already. But don't
That's
get
a thing.
solely sucked into
That's
this.
Yeah, that's thinly traded, and the bids and ask are way apart
Yeah.
on those. So I wouldn't jump back in. I mean, I looked at, the daily chart. It closed under the 200-day simple moving average for the first time in 2 years. The last time was under the 200 was January of 2023. Okay, so
Wow.
if you're on a weekly chart, it closed right on the lower Bollinger Band in the 50, so it's still above the 200 on a longer term investment. But if you were swing trading it, like tomorrow, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see if it comes back up, bounces off that 200, and continues on its way down, which is what you would normally see. Or can it get back
Yeah.
up above that 200, come back and test it and move back up? That's what I'm going to be looking for the next day or two on Nvidia. All the oscillators suck on Nvidia, but like you said,
Yeah.
it's been trading in a range, and you need some type of a catalyst. I call this today was an unknown market catalyst because none of us knew. A known market catalyst would be like, earnings is coming up, which it is here pretty soon. And when the earnings come up, there's going to be a bump one way or the other. You can read about it. It's going to be 15% higher or lower. So that's known. You know it's coming. You can either get out, stay in, whatever you want. This was everyone woke up this morning and said, holy crap, the market went down. What's going on? So it was unknown. And that's what gets you past, either resistance at the top that it's been hitting or support at the bottom when it goes down. And right now, at least on a daily chart, we're below long-term support of the 200. And if it would stay down under there, then I would kick in my Paul Tudor Jones hat on a daily chart versus, and get
Yeah.
out, until it came
Yeah.
back up.
I
Not
I
financial
I think
advice, though.
right. Well, what's interesting is I track the implied volatility premium discount. And I do that we have that free version of the Nvidia tracker, which this is
Yep.
the bizarrest thing. It updated over the weekend. It had a low end price target, I swear to God, $120. 151 at the top end, 120. This is all before all this news came out because it takes Friday's close, which it updated probably about 9 o'clock on Friday, and boom, there it is. And I'm like, it's taking that volatility element and it's looking at it going, this thing isn't going any higher. So when it blew through 120 today, I was like, holy crap. This is all market mechanics. When you see an event like this, those algorithm trading, the high speed trading, frequency trading models, they all kick in. They saw this headline, they question Nvidia, and it's in a way you got to say we saw this coming.
Well,
I just
I
didn't
mean,
expect this level.
well, we were looking at the charts, and it's always on the upper level of the resistance. And I've been saying it for, well, we have been. It just needs
Yeah,
something to kick it up or kick it down. And then, if you remember, we've talked about this. If people have been watching this for a year or so, we've talked about over the last year how many tech executives have sold their shares out. Okay, and not only that, but Nvidia. And I think since 2020, not one executive, I'd have to check on this, has bought Nvidia. They've all sold them. Okay. Um,
yeah,
and so, it's not just NVIDIA. A lot of these high tech moguls have sold their shares and, just recently within the last 6 months. So again, you got to kick that into the tin cat, theory and say, what did they know? Because they always seem to know when to get out of the top. What did they know?
they do.
And maybe they knew all
Well,
about this and maybe they knew this was coming out. I don't know.
what's interesting is when you look at implied volatility versus historical volatility, today before market open, it was at a discount of 9%, so a negative 9%. It closed out today at a positive 65% volatility. So all of a sudden, people at the top got complacent and weren't paying premium for put contracts or protection. So there was no support underneath this. This news comes out, all of a sudden the floor gets pulled out and this thing drops 16, 17%. Now you have protection in place. So that's going to support this area right now. And chances are you will see a push back up, probably, in my opinion, up to about 135. From there, though, then it becomes, in my opinion, is this company really worth what they're saying it's worth? Is it really necessary to spend $250,000 on a chip or whatever it is for a Blackwell chip, or could I use older chips? I think that's where the fundamentals are really going to get squeezed here in the next week or so.
You
And
you
but I
you're
think
you're
naturally, what's that?
so you're way more optimistic than I am. I mean, I'm looking at oscillators that are just dying and dead, and I'm looking at moving averages on a daily basis that are just haven't even absorbed what happened today. They're going to start dying, and I I think it's going to take a while to get back up. It's got to get back above the 200 on a daily chart. For me, on a swing trading point of view, and that could take
Yeah.
a while. I mean, I think a lot of damage was done today, but I even put out to you. I think I texted you earlier this morning and on the Discord. Look what's happening. I said, is this gonna, retail is all in on this. Retail has been all in on everything. Uh,
Oh yeah,
and
buy the dip.
yeah, are they going to buy the dip, or are they going to stick with their
Oh,
conviction, or are they going to sell? Well, I don't know what happened, but um, it's hard to buy the dip when you're down 16% unless you have huge conviction. But with the news I heard today, I wouldn't have bought in today, especially looking at the charts, being that I look at technical. So, you know, we'll see. Is this
I think this is a.
waited a
I
long
think this.
time for the party
I
to
think
have a
this is.
different guest?
I think this is an institutional process. If you think about you program an algorithm trading model, you get massive volume. We had over 800 million shares were traded today. That's substantially higher than what it typically is.
Traded
I
down
think about
probably.
four times. Huh?
Yeah,
Four
traded down.
times.
I mean, someone bought them, but they were traded down.
Absolutely. I mean, it's sold off hard. If you look at a volume chart, it's like skyscrapers versus houses on the volume side of it. And when I look at this, I go naturally, in the last hour, there were 52 million, but basically 53 million shares bought. It was on, or volume was 53 million. Uh, there was buying throughout the day. And what I think you're going to see is these algorithms kicked in and said, this is a massive discount. We set a bottom or a support level, a temporary support level. We're accumulating shares in the, after 3 hours of trading, and we're going to accumulate shares. We're going to pump this up because everybody's going to go buy on the dip. They're going to take it up. I say 135 is really would be a big barrier. Say 130, and then they're going to turn around and flush this thing back down to about $95 a share. That's to me, that is, if I were going to program an algorithmic model, I would be looking for excessive selling, buying opportunity, suck people in,
But
run it back
yeah,
up, and then suck them back down.
I would say you were right, except it's on the daily chart. It's under the 200. The 200 is a huge line of resistance on all these algorithms, and when it
Right.
gets down there, that's why I said it's going to have to come back up and test it and get past it. But if it comes up, test it as resistance and then goes back down, that's going to be a bad sign. That's going to be a bad
Yeah.
sign in my world. If it can get
So
above
if it
it,
can't,
come back down and test the support and then head back up, then I would agree with you. So I think I got a day or two before I can give you an answer of what I think is going to happen.
okay. And I
But
think,
I see what you're seeing. I see what you're saying, though.
I mean, if you got a couple $1 billion in a massive computer that makes a million trades a second, you don't care. You just want it to you want to buy it on the cheap, make a move higher, and then
Dump them.
sell it. And that's how
Like
I
that.
think that's the majority of how the stock market is traded today. And that
Oh,
is should be a cautionary sign to the retail investor.
yeah,
Because you're
majority
right.
of the trades are more of the trades are computer traded. So
Yeah. And if Nvidia can't stay above 200, say between now and Thursday, $95. That's my price target after that. But they're honestly, I think their earnings will come out. The earnings come out on the 26th of February. So we got a ways to go, roughly a month. Um, if their earnings come out lower than, if we continuously see a drop in revenue and earnings aren't as spectacular, I Nvidia could really get slaughtered,
Well, it'll
which
be
would bring this whole market down.
well, I mean, it would be interesting to see what their guidance is going to be because earnings will already be in the past. But if I'm
Right.
one of their customers, you can bet right now I'm taking seriously if this DeepSeek can do this on inferior or smaller amount of chips and smaller amount of power. I'm cutting my orders to Nvidia right now and figuring out what those are,
Right.
because I'm not going to pay them. I don't know what they charge 70 grand a chip for whatever they do, but I'm not
Yeah.
paying that anymore, because all of a sudden, I've been overpaying for my overhead and my equipment, and I don't need that big power company next to whatever their Stargate, anymore.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
probably had a big a lot of the big companies taking Nvidia up on their and at the beginning of the year sale on old product. They
or at
probably
least
got a
looking
bunch of
into,
phone calls. Hey, I'll take that 50% off those whatever those deep sea guys are using.
yeah, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, and again, it's if if this messes with their forward valuations on these Mag sevens, we've talked about these seven and the importance they are to the Nasdaq 100 and to the S&P 500. Basically, their market cap's so large that if they take a hiccup or a dump, the whole shit getting caboodle takes a dump. Okay,
Right.
and uh, the revenues probably in the other 493 stocks in the S&P are not going to be able to keep up and keep the S&P rolling like these seven have. They just won't.
No. I think this just gives more I clarity, more confirmation that 2 years in a row, the S&P being up 20+%, you haven't seen it do it 3 years in a row. I mean, something really spectacular has to happen when
Yeah.
you've had seven companies drive this whole thing for 24 months. That means what 100 and or 493 now have to pick up the baton. What do?
They've
Nothing
done
really
nothing.
exciting.
Yeah, they've done
Nothing,
nothing.
nothing that's going to make this thing go higher. So I think those who have allocated 100% of their portfolio in the last couple of years to S&P 500 just got a shot across the bow. Take notice. This chances are you're not going to get that 20%. Look at diversifying. Look at other opportunities in the market, and they are there. They are there. Um, I still go back to the one foundational thing that isn't being addressed really publicly, and that is the energy need to fuel AI. It is massive. Um,
Or
Now,
maybe
granted,
not.
these guys may have said, "Hey, there's an alternative," but you're still going to need energy to do this, and we're so far behind China when it comes to um, you know gigawatts on adding
Well,
gigawatts online
that's
every year.
that's because they don't have any restriction on building new coal power plants. They made whether they got 17 new ones being built right now, coal power plants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's something like that, but also nuclear. There is
yeah.
just they're building out nuclear. Since 2000, when we quit manufacturing stuff in this country, our new online energy production facilities has just flatlined. In comparison to China, it's just gone up. And when we produced, say, 20 new power plants, they produced 480 new power plants. So it's a energy race, but we also, I think, got a wake up call in that the valuations of these AI companies is just too astronomical, and they have to be reset. They have to become affordable. So, do you think Warren is telling telling his people who manages his cash, hey, free up some bucks. We're going to be going shopping here soon.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because that's his modus operandi, So we'll see. He's gonna have to
Yeah,
do something pretty good, pretty soon because he's just losing purchasing power, by letting his all that money sit in treasury bills, losing, 7-8% a year, on
yeah,
his money,
yeah,
326 billion dollars, not keeping up with monetary inflation. Like, that's what's going to happen. So as a shareholder, me especially, I'm like, you know, do something with that, put it
right.
to work.
Put it to
But
work.
he's richer than I am and smarter than I am, so I'm going to let him handle that aspect of my portfolio.
Right. He's done pretty well.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah,
again, today I felt like today was the salvo of the .com era where everyone's like, hey, these guys don't make any money, or hey, knowing that they do make money, but all these companies putting money into these chips and these factories, they haven't really monetized it yet. Okay. Um,
yeah,
and now you've got a competitor out there. And we always talk about, who's Nvidia's competitor? Well, it's AMD or whoever, well, now there's another one out there somewhere. Okay. And if true, this is going to change the way that they're going to invest in and monetize AI. When you think
yeah.
about AI should be getting cheaper, not more expensive. Like
Oh,
things
yeah.
do.
It's sort of like, TVs, flat screen TVs. They went from, I remember seeing my first one, it was $10,000. Today,
Well,
Best Buy sent me a notice saying I can buy one for, $200,
when I
a
was in
big
high
one.
school, the four function calculator came out and they were like
Yeah,
hundreds of dollars. And then, you know, 5 years later, you were getting them with a large pizza, at Godfather's Pizza. They gave you one for free, you know.
right. Yeah,
And then, my engineering calculator in college was probably $300. It had all the, everything on it. You had to be a computer scientist to figure out how to run it. It took you 2 semesters to learn out how to run your calculator. But yeah,
right.
things should get cheaper. But it's going to be an interesting year. It really is. And just when you think everything's hunky dory and rosy, and it'll never go down, it can. You know,
Yeah. Well, and I think this is, you and I bang the table on this. We get made fun of a lot
we do.
about our,
We're just two regular
you got
guys.
to protect, what's that?
We're just two regular guys get made fun of.
We're just, right. But you have to be risk man. You have to risk manage. And when you see what we have seen in the last, I would say 3, 4 months with these markets and the sideways movement, spending a little time learning about charting, learning about how the market mechanisms work versus what you hope they will do is very going to become very, very important because I don't think this is over. I do think, as I've said, this will run up, but it's not going to get too much higher than the bottom end of the channel that it's been in for especially Nvidia. But as these earnings come out, I believe Wednesday and Thursday, Google, Apple, Microsoft, a lot of the big tech names, the big, part of the Mag 7, if these guys guide any lower or hint at anything about DeepSeek as maybe they've got it figured out, you could see this thing sell off in a bigger way. And honestly, the valuations need to be reset. Unfortunately, when markets fall, they fall big really fast and people get scared and get taken out. So risk management is really the biggest key here.
And don't be listening to the talking heads on these, these financial news networks because they are all in probably deep on these, and they need to get out there and say, oh no, this means nothing. And it's gonna because they either have to hedge what they have or get the heck out, before
Right.
you do because they have as much in this as you do. Because if they hadn't, they wouldn't have any clients over the last 2 years because that's where the money came from. Was these seven stocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I
they,
think,
they were all happy, no, this means nothing and blah blah blah. And they were all happy to poo-poo everything. But as a human being and a regular guy, I went and looked it up and said, well, okay, what's the alternative if they're right, if this thing is right? Okay.
yeah.
So think on your own
Yeah,
and don't let them tell you what to do.
yeah, I agree. Well, Mark, you got anything else on this
No, it's been an exciting day.
Black Swan
I
Monday?
I sat on the sideline eating popcorn, watching the whole thing happen because as a swing trader, I have long-term positions and they did fine today and nibbled a little more on some Bitcoin as it went below 100,000. And I keep powder dry. And now, I'm going to watch. Maybe I'll buy into Nvidia if I see the chart come back up my direction and do what I think it's going to do.
Yeah,
Otherwise I'll stay out. And I'll keep the powder dry and keep an income strategy going and my income accounts and be ready. But we have been, like you said, coiled in a sideways pattern on a lot of these stocks for a long time, and today, at least for Nvidia, it broke down to the downside underneath the 200. So uh, that went from the upper resistance level down to below support at the 200 in one day.
that's for such a big mega cap company to move 17% a day is not something that happens very often.
Yeah,
And that to me is a it's a cautionary sign for sure.
not
But
something you see every day, that's for sure.
yeah, so we'll see. Well, Mark, we have nothing else to say until
Oh no, I'm exhausted. I'm
later.
exhausted from watching.
It's like
But
watching a tennis match.
just remember, you don't have to be in the game all the time, And if you were swing trading, and at least the way I do it, and if I was in an Nvidia, I would only been in a few days last week, and I would have been out on uh, last Tuesday or Wednesday when it hit my resistance levels. Just on the charts, and I would have missed today. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
that doesn't happen all the time, but technical analysis does help you limit your downside and help you get out on the upside. You may not hit the tops or the bottoms, which is not the goal, but you certainly miss out on days like today, hopefully.
you do. Well, Mark, we'll wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Tomorrow will be an interesting day. I'm curious to see how this plays out over the next 4 days. Maybe we can do a video or something on Thursday, put it up there, and see how the next 3 days goes. See
Yeah, okay.
whose projection is spot on.
Yep.
So if you're not a part of the Best US Investors Platinum channel, we have a 14-day free trial. Please check it out. We get into all this. We have different services within that platform. We have Kerry's cheat sheet, his tell sheet, which is all fundamental analysis. We then get into Mark's daily and weekly technical trading ideas. He releases that typically on Sunday, and then updates that throughout the week on our Discord and through our newsletter that we send out in the morning. I run our price range projection worksheet, which is more of a 15 to 62-day time frame look, and it's for the guy who's actively looking for help in identifying ranges. As I said earlier in the video, the sheet updated or updated on Saturday. It told me we're going to see 120 on the low end, 151 on the high end. I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out. Come and check us out. 14-day free trial. This is a team sport. You don't have to do this as an individual. It's a team sport. So join the Best of US Investors Platinum channel. Hit the link in the profile, and you can check out and learn more about us. In the meantime, whatever you do, from Mark and myself, Trent, have a great day and always live loud. See ya.
And cut.